they did, we wouldn't sell very many.
Yeah. I've got a little stash of those. I'll put them in my will for somebody.
So while this has been educational, we are at 11 o'clock.
All right.
Now that I know more about the needlepoint industry, thank you for that. It is January 5th. It's 11 o'clock. We have a special commission meeting of the Monterey County LAFCO, and I'm going to go ahead and call us to order and ask Safrina to take us through a roll call.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Alejo. Commissioner Rutescu. Commissioner Craig.
Here.
Commissioner Gorley.
Here.
Commissioner Oglesby.
Here.
Commissioner Poitras.
Here.
Commissioner Snodgrass.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Velasquez. Commissioner Leffel. And Chair Lopez.
Here.
Thank you.
And can you confirm that that constitutes a quorum for us, Safrina, before we proceed?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and ask.
Chair Lopez, I'm here too. So I'm about to ask you. Alternate.
Good morning.
Well, since you've got your mic on, you mind leading us in the pledge?
I'd be happy to. Hold on just
All
a
right.
second. Turn the volume down. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then with that, we are at our closed session. You'll note that pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, the Commission will confer with legal counsel regarding one matter of significant exposure to litigation. Kelly, anything else you want to say before I offer public comment for this closed session item?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So at this point, I am offering an opportunity to share any public comments regarding the closed session items today. We ask folks use the raise hand function, *9 via landline in order to be recognized. Seeing no hands going up, we'll close the public comment and recess to closed session. We'll reconvene. Any time estimate you want to give, Kelly?
15, 20 minutes. I don't
Okay.
think it should be too long.
All right, we'll be back. Commissioners, I believe you'll be receiving a notification to join a breakout room. We'll see you in closed session, reconvening in 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
No public comment?
Oh, there's going to be public comment. They're going to come back into public session after their closed session to talk about litigation exposure again. And then we'll take public comment. You have circles under your eyes.
Jonathan, I'm not sure who's moving folks over, but I need to be moved over as well. Thank you.
Good. Good. What's that? Yeah.
Show online.
is everybody broken out now in groups or what?
We're currently in the commission's currently in closed session. And they'll be back in, they were estimating 15 minutes or so.
Oh, thanks very much.
And you know, the nice thing, Sam, for you, for all of this is something you said, I don't
Close the rooms, sorry.
We're now preparing to reconvene here in open session. Commissioners are joining. Watching the list here, it looks like nearly everybody is back. We'll give them just another minute. All right, looks like everybody's here. With that, we're going to go ahead and reconvene in open session. I'm going to ask Sabrina to take us through a roll call.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rutschke,
Here.
Commissioner Craig,
Here.
Commissioner Gorley,
Here.
Commissioner Oglesby.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Portress,
Here.
Commissioner Snodgrass,
Here.
Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Velasquez, Vice Chair Leffel,
Here.
and Chair Lopez.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Safarina. With that, we're going to go ahead and see if there's anything to report out of closed session.
No reportable items today, Chair.
Thank you, Kelly. We're now looking at the item general public comments on our agenda. This is the time for the public to share comments regarding items not on today's agenda. Again, an opportunity to share comments regarding items not on today's agenda. We ask folks to use the raise hand function or *9. We will be authorizing a minute per speaker. Seeing no hands going up on my end. Oh, I do see a hand up. Rick Aldinger, again, Rick, the floor is yours. This is the time to make comments regarding items not on today's agenda. Rick, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair Lopez. This is Rick Aldinger, resident of Monterey. And I do want to clarify here, I'm not sure, I've gotten conflicting information whether I should be speaking on the resolution that will be voted on today.
Not at this time. Rick.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Gary, I see your hand up. Gary, floor is yours. Go ahead and unmute. You have 1 minute to share comments regarding items not on today's agenda.
Yes, Chair Lopez and other commissioners, thank you very much. While the recent attack on Commissioner Leffel is disturbing, it is not surprising. It's right out of the Public Water Now playbook. When they don't get their way, they react like petulant children. The recently published recall petition is filled with misinformation and partial truths. During Commissioner Leffel's remarks at your last meeting, she spoke to the loss of revenue that would occur for all affected agencies in Monterey County. Her concerns were not based on the impact to the airport district alone, as stated in the Public Water Now ad. There is no more dedicated and conscientious public servant and citizen of Monterey County than Mary Ann Leffel. Commissioners, thank you for the time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your comment, Gary. See no additional hands up. I'm going to close public comment, general public comment, and we're going to resume with our consent agenda. That's items 2 through 5 today. Is there a member of the commission who wishes to pull an item from today's consent calendar? Seeing no hands up, I'll see if there's anybody from the public that wishes to pull an item from the consent calendar. I see Gary's hand up, but I think that's a legacy hand. So Gary, anything you want to see pulled, or is that just a remainder? All right, hearing none, we'll
move
continue.
approval of consent. Craig.
Motion from Craig. I heard a second from Leffel. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Commissioner Rutetskew.
Aye.
Commissioner Craig.
Aye.
Commissioner Gurley.
Aye.
Commissioner Oglesby.
Aye.
Commissioner Portress.
Aye.
Vice Chair Leffel.
Yes.
And Chair Lopez.
Yes, motion carries. That brings us to item 6, old business, considering the adoption of a resolution formalizing and effectuating the Commission's December 6th decision to deny the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District's proposed activation of latent powers to provide and maintain potable water production and distribution services for retail customers, LAFCO file 21-01. Given that item, little bit of, see if Darren wants to give an intro here and kind of lay out how we're going to proceed today. Darren, floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission, Darren McBain here on behalf of our executive officer, Kate McKenna, who could not be here today. This item is a follow-up action to the commissioner's December 6th decision to deny the Water Management District's proposed activation of latent powers relating to retail potable water services. On December 6th, staff brought the district's proposal to a public hearing before this commission with a recommendation of conditional approval and a draft resolution with staff recommended determinations supporting approval of the proposal. At the December 6th hearing, following presentations, public comment, and discussion among the commissioners, the commission voted 5-2 to deny this proposal and directed staff to come back with a revised resolution documenting the commission's reasons for denial. And that's attachment 1 that you have before you in your packet today. To be clear, although this is an open business item on the agenda with opportunities for public comment and commission discussion, Today's agenda item is not an additional public hearing or a continued public hearing on the district's application. And it's also not a reconsideration of the commission's decision to deny the district's requested latent powers activation. However, there is a 30-day reconsideration process that becomes applicable and available after the commission has adopted a resolution formalizing its decision to deny a proposal, if that's what occurs today. And we will come back to the reconsideration process in a moment when we talk about next steps. But in terms of just an overview, a basic overview of today, the narrow purpose of today's agenda item, following a process established by state law, is for the commission to consider the draft resolution in today's packet, making determinations for denial of the activation of latent powers proposal, and then either adopt the resolution or provide other direction to staff as the commission may feel necessary to implement its December 6th decision for denial. And I'm really emphasizing this last point and about the limitations of today's agenda, because we do recognize that there are many people here today on this meeting who are very committed to Measure J and public ownership of the water supply. Attachment 2 of your packet today, attachment 2 to the staff report, includes 14 letters and emails that we received before we completed and posted the agenda packet for this meeting. And we completed this packet and posted it to our site back on or around December 22nd. And in the last 2 weeks, especially over the last couple of days, we've received, I believe, 165 letters and emails, most of which were in support of the district's proposal. We do really respect the time and effort that went into the writing of those messages to LAFCO, those letters and emails. We have reviewed each one of those and we have passed them along to the commission for their consideration, for your consideration today. But again, just in terms of the procedural, technical purpose of today's meeting, although we have reviewed all of that correspondence and passed it along to the commission, we're here today because the commission on December 6th, after reviewing the entire record in light of the broad scope of factors for consideration established by the legislature in the CKH, or Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, the commission has made a decision on December 6th to deny this proposal. And the item before the commission today is adoption of a resolution that would formalize and put into effect that prior decision that has been made. I'd just like to mention here also that since yesterday afternoon through this morning, we have received an additional 7 emails that did not make it into the supplemental memo that we transmitted to you yesterday with that 165 letters and emails that I mentioned. So again, there are 7 emails that we received from Kay Klein, Mark Kusenza, Bertrand Dupre, I think. There was one from with no name, with an email address of sirpranane@aol.com. I'm sorry for the pronunciation there. We received an email from Dick Stott, Diana Galbraith, and Ruth Carter. These will be included in the permanent file for the proposal. And I would just mention for the record that they were very similarly worded emails that were urging the commission to approve the district's proposal. Turning to the revised draft resolution that you have before you today, making denial determinations. This draft is based on comments and concerns raised by the commissioners during the December 6th public hearing. The information in this draft, or these draft recommendations or written determinations being recommended by staff, are also based on and reflect other related supporting evidence drawn from the overall record. And that would include the district's application, the Bergson report, and public input, including correspondence from CalAm, the owner of the water system. Reflecting discussion by the commissioners on December 6th, the main reasons for denial being expressed here in this draft include the following, which are also mentioned on page 2 of the staff report. There are the property tax impacts to the county, cities, special districts, and school districts. Also, potential rate impacts to outlying systems, water and sewer systems that would not be part of this acquisition and would remain under CalAm's ownership in the future. We have references to concerns about feasibility of acquisition of the water system and also water supply concerns that were voiced at the public hearing. The draft resolution includes recommended determinations for denial relating to the most relevant and applicable factors required by state law on pages 3 to 8 of this draft resolution, as well as determinations regarding feasibility in section 3 of the resolution on page 9, among other staff recommended determinations in this draft being presented to you today for adoption.
There's me.
I would just like to pause here briefly to mention correspondence that we received from the district in 2 letters to LAFCO last week. There was a letter that we received from the district on December 29th that highlighted potential future water rates in CalAm's Chular water system. That letter is on page 3 of the supplemental memo circulated to the commission yesterday afternoon and to other parties. On December 30th, last week, we received a second letter from the district focusing on property tax impacts to the local public agencies. That's on page 11 of the supplemental memo packet from yesterday. And also received on Monday, January 3rd, just a couple days ago, we received a letter from CalAm, a letter that was basically a rebuttal to both of the district's letters, and that's on page 14 of the supplemental memo. In terms of the resolution, we do have one recommended change today, and this is based on reflecting on the comments in the district's December 29th letter. This has to do with the accuracy of the $75 million total cumulative property tax impact that we had mentioned in one part of that resolution. Jonathan, I don't know if you have that at the ready, if we could put that change up on the screen. But anyway, we do have a correction up at the top of that page there, shown in red line, strike through and underline. The idea here is to reflect that not all of that $75 million total cumulative impact over 20 years would be at the local level. Some of that impact would be to entities outside of the area. And this is all the other part of the reason for this revision is that the Ralph Tellis report that was part of the district's application had to do with financial feasibility. Also had part of that financial feasibility had assumed the existence of CalAm desal plant at the time that the report was done. Of course, that desal plant doesn't currently exist. There's no certainty that it's going to exist, and although it does remain a project that is, as far as we know, the CalAm is still interested in pursuing. So anyway, the long story short is that it was a little bit part of the property tax impact is related to the existence of a desal plant that doesn't currently exist. So we just wanted to soften the wording there a little bit. And that's why there's a change from a would-be $75 million to a could-be approximately $75 million. So that's the one correction we have to the resolution today. And other than that, staff respectfully believes that the issues raised in the district's 2 letters, those 2 letters I mentioned to LAFCO, are matters that have already been discussed in the December 6th staff report and at that public hearing, and do not require any changes to the draft resolution before you today. Okay, so that's really all I have for you today regarding the resolution. I just wanted to briefly talk about next steps, which is basically the reconsideration process that we have mentioned in the staff report on page 2. Part of the overall LAFCO process outlined in state law includes a 30-day reconsideration process that starts from the time of adoption of a resolution, which would potentially be today. There is some wording there on the page 2 of the staff report that talks about some technical requirements related to reconsideration. Briefly, in a nutshell, anybody can file a reconsideration request. It must be filed within 30 days. So that would be by Friday, February 4th, if the commission acts on the resolution today. It must, any reconsideration request must state the specific modification to the resolution that is being requested, and must also state what new or different facts that could not have been presented previously are claimed to warrant the reconsideration. If we do receive a reconsideration request, staff will move forward with agendizing that request for reconsideration for review by the commission. That could possibly be, that's something that could possibly occur at the February 28th regular meeting, but we will definitely keep people informed about the timing of any hearing on a reconsideration request. Again, the details of the reconsideration process are discussed there in the staff report. And in terms of filing a written reconsideration request, I'm pretty sure most folks on this meeting are familiar with how to get in touch with LAFCO staff by email, but if not, all of our email addresses are on the website. And the reconsideration request could be submitted to any or all of us here at LAFCO. So with that, thank you very much for your time and attention here today. I'm going to just ask our General Counsel, Kelly Donlin, Special Counsel, Paula D'Souza, and the Senior Analyst, Jonathan Brinkman here, if there's anything to add or clarify, anything I missed, or anything that we benefit from. If so, please go ahead and weigh in. But if not, thanks again, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Darren, one more question for you in terms of process here. We're going to expect up to 10 minutes from the district and then up to 10 minutes from CalAm. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then after that, we will open it up for public comment and then bring it to the board for decision. Are there any questions from commissioners? Okay, seeing no hands up from commissioners, we'll go ahead and kick it off here. We'll send it over to Dave Stoll to start us off. I see your hand up, Dave. Floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Let me share screens here. Yes, thank you for this opportunity. It's good to see you all again. I've got a brief presentation. It would start, there we go. In this whole process, I'm a little reminded of when I was raising my kids and they'd get in an argument, and the one that yelled the loudest always thought it was right, he or she was right, which didn't always mean to be the case. And sometimes you get into this where the loudest voice is the one that wants to be heard, but it's not always the most accurate voice. And I think in this particular case, among your children, CalAm has been the loudest voice, but it hasn't been the most accurate voice. What I see is that the December 6th denial of activation of powers was inconsistent with substantial evidence presented. The evidence clearly outweighs the dismissal, what I believe defies the laws of physics. Darren has done a very good job to identify that the government code does cite factors for LAFCO to consider. There are 17 in all. Not all apply in this case, but there are 7 which have been cited in the resolution as findings for support. So factor B, the adequacy of services in the area, focused on 2 issues, the first of which was property tax impacts. We believe this issue has been blown way out of proportion, and that substantial evidence has been presented to show that the potential impacts to local agencies are neither, quote, substantial nor, quote, long-term, terms used in your resolution. In fact, the tax losses are less than 0.5% of the local agency's budgets and can be recovered in less than 4 years. That proportion is reflected by this pie chart on the bottom of the graph. So property tax impacts, these happen all the time, and they never receive as much attention as it has here at LAFCO. And let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. The county buys 1441 Schilling Place from Capital One in 2014, a $36 million building that immediately took the property off the tax rolls and no longer became a taxpayer. The Aquarium buys a city block on Cannery Row in 2014 as a nonprofit that immediately takes the property off the tax rolls. Monterey, over the couple of decades, have been buying up Window on the Bay Park from private entities, including the Honda dealership, Cellular One, and others, taking those properties off the tax roll. Pebble Beach Company, just in 2019, transferred 135 acres zoned for housing, which is now restricted to open space and has been taken off the tax roll. Seaside tomorrow is buying 2 parcels at Broadway and Del Monte for $1.1 million, taking them off the tax roll. And this goes on and on and on. Anytime a public agency buys property from a private company, it goes off the tax roll. Where has been the hue and the cry over any or all of these in their cumulative? Property tax impacts. The district's offered more to mitigate than any other water company acquisition. We currently have offered 14 revenue neutrality transition agreements to the identified 14 affected agencies that LAFCO's identified. Pardon me. When Casitas Municipal Water District in Ojai acquired Golden State Water in 2017 for $34 million, there was no property tax sharing. When Missoula, Montana acquired Liberty Utility System in 2015 for $89 million, there was no property tax sharing. We have done more to ameliorate this issue than any other of these and other acquisitions out there. In fact, the current review of a takeover in Nassau County of New York of an American water entity has identified that the property tax issue conflates double taxation and should not be considered an issue. The Factor B also focused on the satellite systems, and we believe that substantial evidence has been shown that the district that it's very unlikely to create a probable undue hardship to those residents. And there's been no credible evidence provided in support of the LAFCO finding. In fact, what we're seeing is you're penalizing 97% of the population of the CalAm system in Monterey County and considering only 1.2% of the CalAm system. Which is the greater good? With respect to Factor C, mutual social and economic interest, this is a little bit the same. The district has in fact demonstrated resolution of potential impacts. Now, this targeted acquisition area, meaning the CalAm main system, has over 10,000 disadvantaged community members by block group method, even more, about 14,000 by census tract method in Monterey and Seaside versus a population of 1,139 in the Chular system. Again, which is the greater good? Is the tail wagging the dog? And you may want to read this. Would CalAm really stick it to Chular again? So in 2003, CalAm bought the Chular system from the county. They planned to ramp rates up as shown in Resolution W 4365, which was included in the Manat January 3rd letter. Residents who had been paying $21 a month got a rude introduction to privatization when CalAm started raising those rates along that 5-year plan. A couple of years later, a bill more than $200 prompted some scrutiny, and some bills were up by $500. The ratepayers were incredulous and protested to the Public Utilities Commission, and CalAm agreed to restore the old rates until a more reasonable one could be developed. And I like this quote at the bottom. "We were running on autopilot," said Kevin Tilden, CalAm Vice President of External Relations. Obviously, the adjacent community was not the right template. Yet their plan during that acquisition was to raise rates in Chular over a 5-year period, and they did nothing to stop it until the residents were up in arms. And who's the new president of California American Water? Kevin Tilden. Factor J, comments of affected or other agencies. I think the thing to take away here is comment letters express a concern, but not every concern may represent a fact. Most of the comment letters received to date have provided zero evidence, unlike the applicant in this process. And the district has addressed all concerns raised in the comment letters, including a recent mailing to the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. Factor K, financial feasibility of providing the service. Again, substantial evidence has been presented by the district and its nationally recognized financial consultant and its internationally recognized investment banker, and significantly, LAFCO's own independent third-party consultant that shows that our ownership, the district ownership, is financially feasible on an ongoing basis. Factor L, adequacy of water supply. I think LAFCO conflates the purpose of this factor. It was originally intended for annexations and development to ensure that there was sufficient water supply for future development. But the fact of the matter is, the water supply issue on the peninsula will be resolved before any acquisition is finalized. It's on a track for the next 2 to 3 years, whereas the acquisition is more likely a 3 to 7 year process. And the district will acquire whatever water supply Cal-Am has developed. So in essence, this whole factor is irrelevant to the activation of the latent powers. Factor N, information from landowners, voters, and residents. Surprisingly, the LAFCO finding makes no mention whatsoever of voters who overwhelmingly support acquisition. This factor refers to voters, and there's nothing in your resolution about it. Furthermore, there were many more positive letters of support from landowners, residents, and voters than there have been of negative letters. And again, comment letters may express concern, but they're not necessarily facts. And again, the district has provided substantial evidence to address any of the concerns raised in these letters. Finally, or not finally, factor P, promoting environmental justice. I would say see the earlier slides just to remind you that the acquisition geography has way more disadvantaged community members than the satellite systems. And again, we're talking about 97% of the population, 24,000 of which voted in favor of this process. Section 3 of your resolution talks about the cost of a failed acquisition. We have presented substantial evidence that we can handle the cost of failure. Why does LAFCO take Cal-Am's word for it? Why does LAFCO take Cal-Am's word for almost everything? The district has done its research. We have experts too. We presented substantial evidence. We think that you are heading down the wrong path as evidenced by my first slide. Finally, why is it in the public interest? The lower cost to operate, same or better quality of service, and exceptional governance and transparency for the local residents of the Monterey Peninsula. Finally, I think it's important to remember the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District is 45 years old. It has an elected board of directors. It should be empowered and respected to fulfill its legislative functions, just like any other duly created special district. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stoll. We did go 10 minutes, 30 seconds. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any representative from Cal-Am who wishes to use their 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. This is George Sanoff, again, counsel for Cal-Am. I'm here to respond, I guess, to Mr. Stoll's statements. I haven't prepared to re-argue this commission's December 6th decision, which is much of what we just heard. I haven't prepared and reviewed a 15-year-old LA Times article or any of these other things that were just said. We had a full record and lively debate and a lot of material presented on December 6th. We argued the merits and the commission asked questions and made its decision. As a matter of law today, under the Brown Act, the only matter that is on the agenda is the adoption of the resolution formalizing that decision that was reached by a vote of 5-2 on December 6th. There's no basis today to re-debate, re-vote, or otherwise reconsider that denial. So again, the only question before you today is whether the proposed resolution that staff has presented accurately memorializes LAFCO's December 6th action to deny the application. Your staff has done an excellent job on this proposed resolution. Mr. Stolt had virtually nothing to say about it. It was merely a re-argument of much of what we've heard from them before. The proposed resolution is tied to the requirements of the Cortese-Knox Act. It needn't go through every single element in that act to memorialize the decision. And it does not do that. It goes through the pertinent factors that the commission considered and voted upon. The proposed resolution specifies the determinations that accurately reflect the commission's action. For example, to take one example, LAFCO's consultant, Mr. Bergson, has estimated that the district faces a loss of $34 million or more from attempting to prosecute the largest eminent domain lawsuit in California's history. Section 3 of the proposed resolution states that the district has failed to demonstrate that it has the financial ability to address this potential loss. That is undisputed. The district does not have the reserves to cover such a loss of taxpayer proceeds. I showed at the December 6th hearing the district's comprehensive annual financial report showing that the district had available reserves of only $11.5 million. Now, that is a very significant fact, and it is stated in the draft resolution. Mr. Stolt had sent a letter prior to the December 6th hearing. He sent a letter on November 15 to LAFCO, arguing with not a shred of proof that the district could borrow the money to cover that loss of $34 million or more from, quote, publicly offered notes or private lending from select banks. Well, the fact that this proposal would very possibly require the district to go out and try to borrow money to pay for all the expenses is established in the record. And this fact alone is a valid ground, was a valid ground, and is a valid ground for LAFCO to reject the district's proposal. It could even be said that it would be irresponsible of LAFCO to approve the district's proposal, given this financial risk for the taxpayers of Monterey and to the district itself. So the district's lack of sufficient funds is properly and appropriately a part of the proposed resolution. And there are several other grounds in the resolution that support LAFCO's denial. Section 2 determines that the proposed tax reductions, quote, would present a substantial and unwarranted long-term impact to local agencies. That determination is entirely right. Mr. Stolt showing other circumstances and purchases of property, I guess he could have shown that before, but it has no bearing on whether the resolution reflects LAFCO's decision. It does. Now, LAFCO had more than adequate support for that conclusion. The district's own financial model prepared by Raftelis calculated that over a 20-year period, the total loss of property tax revenues would be, would be in excess of $75 million. Now, I heard Mr. McBain talk about the fact that the district says, well, that includes desalination plant, and so it could be less. Well, if so, then the district's entire financial model is askew. It's rendered meaningless. Its model of lower rates was based on saving $75 million. That's the Raftelis model. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, we're going to save $75 million over 20 years, and that's a way that we're going to provide lower rates. But, oh, if the $75 million is a problem, don't worry. Maybe the savings won't be that high. If that's the case, then you needed to start from scratch. And what it is an effort to back away from a fact that is highly unfavorable. And now the draft resolution says that it would be substantial and an unwarranted long-term impact to local agencies. Well, $75 million is over 20 years. In fact, it would be a permanent loss. The district will never pay property taxes for as long as it owns a water system. So the determination in the proposed resolution that there's a substantial and long-term impact is right on the mark. Mr. Stolt just now talked about these agreements and how 14 agreements that they've made. Well, nobody's ever seen them. These are phantom agreements. Their initial application back in May of last year said they were going to do tax sharing agreements. I've never seen one. There's nothing signed. There's no guarantee here. The district hasn't committed to pay a dime. And even if you did, I mean, when you look at what he's written and you look at what the district said, they said, well, we will, quote, ameliorate near-term losses. That's in his letter of last week. What he meant is, well, we'll pay for a while some amount of money, we don't know how much, until property values rise so that the agency's revenues are back where they are today. That's not making them whole. It's still a permanent loss. That's like saying, well, we're going to cut your pay, but but there'll be inflation, and so in a few years, your income will rise and you'll be even. It really doesn't make any sense. These are permanent losses. The district hasn't ever agreed to make up any of them, as far as we've ever seen, anybody's ever seen. But even given what they're saying, it's a insufficient Band-Aid. Next, finally, with regard to the satellite systems, Chular and the other ones, Section 2 of the resolution determines that the residents of these satellite and water and wastewater systems that would be carved out by their proposal and continue to be served by CalAm would face an undue hardship of potential future costs. This determination is fully supported by the facts. The district's own consultant, Raftellus, acknowledged that there would be a loss of economies of scale once you take all of CalAm's main water system. It would lead to higher costs for the remaining customers. And some of those customers are in a disadvantaged community of Chular. The district has argued that the PUC rate setting process will protect Chular, but as we demonstrated in our letter last week, that argument is wishful thinking. It ignores the reality of how rates are set. I don't have anything more this morning. I do want to thank LAFCO staff for its hard work on this. I'm sure that preparing the resolution and staff report was especially tough and unwelcome over the holidays. But as before, staff has faithfully done its work, done its job on behalf of Monterey residents. Thank you.
All right, that's right at 9 minutes. At this point, we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment. We ask folks to use the raise hand function, *9 via landline in order to be recognized. We'll be taking the hands in the order that they went up. We will be running a clock on our end. There won't be a warning. It'll be at 1 minute. I'll let you know your time is up. I'm asking folks to really stay focused on what's in front of us today, which is the resolution, and not rehashing the entire argument as we did on the 6th. Again, we're focused today on the resolution. And so with that, we will open it up for public comment. The first hand I see raised is a cell phone or landline that starts with a 650 area code and ends with 366. The floor is yours. *6 will unmute you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Jean Rash. I live in Monterey. I'm an attorney in Carmel, and I ask the LAFCO commissioners for reconsideration of your vote to deny the CalAm buyout pursuant to Government Code 56895. Mr. Stolt has submitted needed evidence to trigger the reconsideration. Your own staff prior to today confirmed that the buyout is feasible and recommended approval, as did the independent consultant. I won't rehash all the facts that Mr. Stolt so eloquently presented, but Monterey Peninsula Water Management District is 45 years established and deserves the respect as experts, and LAFCO should carry out the mandate of the 24,000 voters who, as a majority vote of the public, wish to proceed with the buyout. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rash. With that, we're going to go to Rick Hewer. Rick, the floor is yours. You have the ability to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Rick Hoyer. I'm president of the Monterey Peninsula Taxpayers Association. I find it the ultimate irony that Mr. Stolt would be talking about the loudest voice, given that what's very clear is the loudest voice in here is Public Water Now and others. I wish to commend Ms. Leffel on knowing she would be pilloried after making her vote. She went ahead and voted based off of the facts and based off of protecting all the taxpayers. I think the resolution covers all items. The only thing, I had submitted a letter a week or two ago pointing out that even the district's consultant underestimated the impacts of property taxes because did not consider that PG and Carmel Valley Unified are basic aid districts and not in the same situation as MPUSD. Therefore, direct loss of property tax to them is direct loss from their budget and is not made whole from other budgets. I look forward to moving past this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Alexander Henson next. Mr. Henson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This commission is being asked to adopt this resolution. In that regard, the resolution must be supported by facts in the record, which this resolution is not. Therefore, under the law, you have but one choice, and that is to reject this resolution. In that regard, I wanted to mention that property taxes, pardon me, property values throughout Monterey County are appreciating somewhere in the neighborhood of 5% per year. There is a 2% cap on how much the property values can go up in any 1 year. And this 1% or whatever the percentage is that's being lost by this condemnation will be made up in property values and thus property tax within 1 year without
Mr. Henson, we're at time. Thank you. I'm going to go to Mark Watson next. Mark, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I operate 5 businesses in the Water Management District, and I would like to thank the LAFCO commissioners for their due diligence in assessing the proposal and voting against the proposal. Measure J was passed on the promise that the cost to the ratepayers would not increase, and absent this reality and other impacts, such as the significant loss of tax revenue and the concern over what would happen with the Chular water system and others, all support a no vote for the welfare of the district, its ratepayers, and the county. And I must add, the distasteful and misleading ad paid for by Public Water Now that singled out Marianne Leffel out of context for her difficult and well-reasoned no vote should be a warning to us all about how this group will say anything to get what they want. Marianne Leffel has been a tireless advocate for this community and the county, and she deserves our thanks and gratitude for the work she does. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Watson. I'm going to go to Tyler Williamson next. The floor is yours, Tyler.
Hi, I'm Monterey Councilmember Tyler Williamson. Though I'm not speaking on behalf of the city, I'm disappointed to see the decision denying the district's voter-approved mandate to buy out the local water utility from Cal-Am. 56% of district voters overwhelmingly supported the buyout, and that's 60% in the city of Monterey. It's also frustrating to hear the $240,000 already spent in the district's application to LAFCO, a significant element being another study to determine if the buyout would be more cost-effective. In the end, the study supported the buyout, yet still LAFCO commissioners are choosing to deny citizens' overwhelming desire to move forward. Actions like this create a deeper wedge between those of us in positions of power and those we are elected to serve. We've heard from several residents who feel it is hopeless to speak publicly about their desire for a more affordable water utility. Today's meeting will likely further validate that their input means little to the majority of the commission, with Monterey Peninsula residents paying $125 versus Chular's $30, ignores the fact that there are disadvantaged parts of our communities, those working in the hospitality industry, small business owners, students, and seniors of fixed incomes. We urge you to change course and at the very least identify a reasonable compromise that can be a win-win for the entire region and not motivated by special interests. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember Williamson. Time is up. We appreciate your comment. I'm going to go to DL Todd, DLTOD next. The floor is yours. You have the ability to unmute yourself.
Mr. Sonoff likes to talk about the lost tax revenue. Well, I would like to address that. The lost tax revenue over the last 20 years was cited at $75 million. Well, that's 20 years. Cal-Am's argument comes from the $95,000 taxpayer revenues that it's going to be lost, but the money comes from those 95,000 people. The revenue, the tax revenue is generated by the taxpayers, by the ratepayers, not by Cal-Am. It's not a charitable gesture. Cal-Am's water rates are the highest in the nation. You need to look that up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I'm going to go to Rick Aldinger next. Rick, the floor is yours. You have the ability to unmute yourself.
Thank you. LAFCO commissioners last month engaged in the thoughtful process of determining if the Cal-Am buyout process should continue. Reams of documentation submitted from all sides was reviewed and discussed as it should have been. In the end, the commission voted and made their decision. In a retaliatory effort, Public Water Now published a half-page ad personally condemning a well-respected commissioner and community member in what I can only describe as a cheap shot. Not the sort of behavior we should expect from anyone claiming to act in the public interest. Commissioner Leffel has time and again proven herself as a person of high morals and integrity, a public servant who takes her responsibilities seriously. The Water Management District made an attempt as well to discredit the commissioner's decision, presenting a potential solution to the documented tax revenue reductions a Cal-Am buyout would cause that falls far short of an actual sustainable solution. LAFCO has made a responsible, appropriate decision on this issue. Please support that decision today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aldinger. We're going to go to Wallace and Notley next. Wallace, the floor is yours. You should have the ability to unmute yourself now.
Yes, good afternoon. First, some questions. Why are most of you thwarting a working relationship between the businesses and the Peninsula Water ratepayers? Why would a minimal rate increase to 904 households outweigh the desire for lower rates to 39,489 households? Why would business interests side with Cal-Am, which has a terrible track record, instead of the Peninsula Water Management District, which has an excellent track record of service and accountability? All your misgivings are outside of LAFCO's domain. Your immediate responsibility is to keep the process moving to the next step. It is anti-productive to continue countywide divisions. We need to work together to listen to and to support our needs as a countywide community. Thank you.
Thank you, Wallace. We're going to go to Sarcy next. I see that there's an and there, so there may be two comments there. We'll start with the first, Sarcy and Sean.
Hi, yes, there's two of us. I'll go ahead and begin. I sent a letter yesterday. I'm going to just read some of the highlights. I am a low income ratepayer for Cal-Am, and I am in debt. I am in debt to the tune of over $500. And I've been in debt since the beginning of the pandemic. Blocking the public water buyout on the peninsula will not stop Cal-Am from continuing to attempt to raise Cholar's rates. That is a false argument by Cal-Am. Cholar pays $30 for the same amount of water that costs me $125, and that's actually about to go up thanks to LAFCO blocking our buyout. There are many impoverished and low-income families living in the valley and the peninsula, despite Cal-Am's false dichotomy, divide and conquer rhetoric that MC LAFCO is intent on parroting. Please stop standing in the way of our access to affordable water. Low-income families and customers like me are drowning in high water bills.
Turning it over to Sean, please.
Yes, my name is Sean Folsom. I've been a resident here since 1956. I've seen the water trucks pull up to the tower at Rosie's Bridge and draft water out of the aquifer. It's called the Carmel River, and it doesn't flow through Salinas. It flows through Carmel Valley. Are we petulant children because we want lower water rates? Is that what constitutes petulance? Well, for me, I feel that I am looking at a board that has somehow, and I don't know, as appointees, taken up a kind of flunkydom position for Cal-Am. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Sean. We're going to go to Susan next. Susan Chavon. The floor is yours.
Thank you. The CPUC reduced Chular's rates when Cal-Am attempted to raise them, and there's no reason that they would not do it again. In the US Census in 2020, population for Chular was 1,512 people. The average income was $69,241 with a poverty rate of 23.28%. That's 348 people. In Seaside, we have 32,366 people with a median income of 63,575, less than Chular. A poverty rate of 13.4%, which is 4,337 people under the poverty level. Most do not qualify for assistance because they're renters, and those that do are still struggling. Cal-Am is deceptive in its arguments. Cal-Am essentially uses low-income disadvantaged customers on the peninsula and elsewhere to subsidize other disadvantaged customers. And this is not environmental justice. I feel for the people of Chular. They have struggles, and these are part of a systemic problem in this county. So I hope you will change your mind.
We're over time. Thank you, Susan. We're going to go to KW next. It's a set of initials. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll just be short and to the point. I feel an overwhelming majority voted in Measure J. Clearly, Cal-Am customers want a way out of being held hostage by the company that runs 6 out of the 10 of the most expensive water systems in the United States. While being #1 can be great in many cases, we no longer wish to be #1 in the United States for the most expensive water in the country. Furthermore, we don't want or need desal. We know Cal-Am will profit greatly from this. If this comes to fruition, our water will become unaffordable for so many of us living here. I'm asking LAFCO to reconsider for the greater good of the 97% of us and to uphold the overwhelming majority vote of Measure J.
Thank you, KW. We're going to go to Jason Campbell next. Jason, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Jason Campbell, Seaside City Council member, and I'm representing my constituents today. As a cautionary note, to appoint an elected representatives, it is clear the shallow reasoning espoused by this commission, and Cal-Am does not fool the well-informed voters whose ire has been raised by your actions. Also, the anti-government rhetoric we've heard insults hardworking and competent government employees, including firefighters. As a member of the MMW1 board and Monterey Waste Management District, boards, I know that without a doubt, these government agencies provide services at a considerably lower cost than equivalent private entities. Please dispense with the falsehoods. Considering the statements from the dais disparaging government alongside the directions given by this government entity, one could be forgiven for thinking this is parody. The resolution is misguided. Please do what it takes to grant conditional approval so the Water Management District can move forward as your staff had recommended.
Thank you, Jason. We're going to go to Anna Thompson next. Anna, the floor is yours.
Yes, Anna Thompson, Carmel. I urged you to reconsider and reverse the vote. Private ownership of goods and services works well when there is competition and the consumer has the choice to buy or not to buy. The opposite is true when a for-profit company owns or manages an essential commodity, such as the water supply or the delivery system. The company is guaranteed a high rate of return on its investment, regardless of performance. The consumer must pay for the company's costs and liabilities with little or no say on the policies or decisions the company makes. Essential resources such as water and delivery should be managed by public agencies that are accountable to the people they serve, not for-profit companies. We owe Monterey Peninsula Water District. So much gratitude. They're the only ones that have done anything for us, and they have been able to develop water supplies that have benefited all our community. And you also have to.
We're over time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're going to go to Paul's iPad next. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I want to commend the staff for putting together the resolution. I think that, this takeover attempt puts the district at serious risk of financial ruin. I don't think people realize how much financial danger they're at. If they were to pursue this and be unsuccessful, they do not have the money to cover it if that were to happen. I think the LAFCO has looked at that and has made a good decision. As far as the bullying that has been going on, it's uncalled for. The commissioners, they make decisions, and we live with their decisions. To call them out and bully them is completely inappropriate and should never take place in a public forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. We're going to go to a phone number that's an 831 that ends in 312. Again, it ends in 312. The floor is yours. *6 should unmute your landline or cell phone.
Good afternoon, Chair Lopez and Commissioners. My name is Margaret Ann Coppernall. American heroes, George Washington and his troops fought most valiantly against unimaginable odds to procure the God-given rights enshrined in our Constitution. Today, you can honor our Constitution and empower a positive solution to the decades-long existential strife-riddled struggle for sustainable, affordable water security and for freedom from the yoke of monopolistic oppression and greed. Please just reconsider and grant conditional approval. That honorable action will surely ring liberty's bell. The public interest, truth, and justice deserve nothing less. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Melody Crislock next. Melody, the floor is yours. Melody?
Can you hear me?
Got you now.
Melody Crislock, Public Water Now. Let's be honest here. This is not about a tiny tax revenue loss or a speculative increase in costs for Cal-Am satellites. What's the real reason LAFCO wants to block the Cal-Am buyout? Chair Lopez made it quite clear to me when we spoke. His real reason is the Peninsula's water supply. Like the majority of this board, he believes Cal-Am is the solution. Wake up. Cal-Am is the problem, not the solution. After decades of failure, why do you still trust Cal-Am? In pursuit of profits, they have done nothing but block water supply plans. The Water Management District and our public agencies have given us over 7,000 acre-feet of new water in the past 20 years. Cal-Am, zero. Dictating water policy is not LAFCO's job. Approve the district's latent powers and respect the decision of the voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crislock. We're going to go to Phil Wellman next. Phil, the floor is yours.
Phil Wellman, Carmel. LAFCO has been tasked with considering the public as a whole, not their special interests. Your resolution of denial violates a key requirement of the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, which states, while serving on the commission, all commission members shall exercise their independent judgment on behalf of the interest of residents, property owners, and the public as a whole in furthering the purposes of this division. Any member appointed on behalf of local governments shall represent the interests of the public as a whole and not solely the interests of the appointing authority. Water costs on the peninsula under Cal-Am are documented to be the highest in the nation. Cal-Am's future harm to 95,000 water customers far outweighs your concerns over small tax revenue losses or speculative cost to Cal-Am satellites. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wellman. We're going to go to Christina Dirksen next. Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank you all for giving us all an opportunity to speak. I hear a lot of anger in people's voices, and I just want you to know that what you do today is has deep effects on our community. So much passion. I just want to say that I came to my attention. There's a letter being circulated to residents of Chular, pitting Latino residents against giving them the indication that water rates are going to be going up. And I'm quite appalled that we're having to pit communities against each other, especially communities where people are more, I guess I'll just say it. I'm just appalled that people would try to exploit limited English speaking people of Chular with a letter in English, a form letter, and it just explaining to them that sign it and or else your water rates are going to go up. So I just want to bring that to your attention. And
Thank you, Christina.
thank you
We're
for
over
listening.
time. Thank you. We're going to go to Bruce Delgado next. Bruce, floor is yours. Bruce, you with us? You need to unmute from your end, Bruce. All right, we'll go to Eric Tynan next. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Chairman and the members of the board. I think you've done your due diligence. Part of LAFCO's job is to look out for preserve ag land. Well, with all the water going to be going to the peninsula to solve peninsula problems, there won't be enough available for CSIP or for North County, which has its own water problems. They talk about Measure J and how many people voted for it. Well, nobody from the Salinas Valley voted for Measure J. So I think the commission did a good job on trying to look at the whole picture, not just specifically to the peninsula. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. I'm going to go to John Tilley next. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Lopez. Thank you all commissioners for serving on LAFCO and all the public work you do. I'm speaking as an individual and I support this resolution. It's going to pass, and I think this is a good time for the idea that the Salinas Valley is supposed to fix the Monterey Peninsula's water problem to be dispelled. It's not a fair situation to put out into the public domain. And I would also say it's time for the Water District to prioritize providing us with water rather than Measure J. We had a water supply project in place. It was subverted by Measure J, and the public water now take over that district's board. And now we do not have a future that is secure with the water supply. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I did see a hand go up and down from Tammy Jennings. Tammy, did you want to make a public comment?
Yes. I feel that this whole thing today, after the first person that spoke, is ridiculous because the decision's already been made, and I am just appalled that the reasons that were given and the people and the commissioners that voted against the proposal. I can't even talk right now. I'm so upset. I'm sorry. I don't think even any of the stuff that has been said today makes a difference. I have been fighting this for years. It doesn't make sense that a for-profit company can ruin the lives of so many people and 5 people can dispel what thousands of people voted for. I'm done. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Tammy. We're going to circle back to Bruce. Bruce, are you with us?
Yes, Chair. Can you hear me now?
We can. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I was chair of your commission several years ago and have been chair of other districts in our county. So I kind of can see the writing on the wall. I think we all can, where today's vote's going. But before you made the vote, I just wanted to put my opinion in that the resolution before you is nothing more than a recitation of the claims made at your last meeting, which were coming at this from a sideways effort in a way to basically give Cal-Am what they want. But my concern for LAFCO's reputation and that of its staff is that in upcoming months and years, after you approve this resolution, your commission will be seen as the reason, even though it's probably not fair, as the main reason why there's a delay in getting the water supply that the coastal cities so dearly need. And it's a shame because up until now, LAFCO has avoided going down the route of fora, that is, with a reputation of being a political persuaded board. And so it's not a good day for LAFCO, and I think that this will be a black eye in the upcoming future when people think of LAFCO.
Thank you,
Thank you
Chris.
very
We're
much.
over time. Appreciate your comments. Is there anybody else who's not had an opportunity to make public comment that wishes to do so? This is your opportunity to raise your hand and be recognized. Okay, seeing no other hands up, we will go ahead and bring it back to the commission. As we do, I did just want to make a comment. There was a direct attribution to a conversation that I had with a member of the public, and I have to say that it was flat out not true. That is a lie. My reasoning had nothing to do with water supply. I don't agree with other decisions. We talked about other history that happened long before I was a supervisor, and that was twisted into a comment here that is not accurate and in no way true. And it saddens me that that sort of stuff gets used here in public in that way against me at a time when we're trying to make a decision about our public. And that just, sour taste there. Anyway, wanted to make sure that was clarified for the record. With that, I'll open it up to other commissioners. Any conversation or motions? Okay, well, I obviously, my position has not changed. I heard a lot of opinions about votes and percentages and numbers, but it's, the time and the effort was not spent in solving the issue for those satellite communities. And so for that reason, my position has not changed. I hear folks saying that folks voted, but Chular was not given that opportunity. And I've had a lot of folks, including folks who made comments about me today, say, hey, regardless of where we are, it's time to move this out of your court. And I'm prepared to do that today by passing this resolution. And so with that, I'm happy to make the motion that we approve staff's, the resolution that staff has provided with the amendment made on the assumption on the $75 million impact clarification at the top of page 4.
Second, Craig.
We've got a motion and a second. Any additional conversation?
Yeah, on the question, Chair, just make some comments. I waited for the motion so we can move the process. But I did have a couple questions of staff, if you wouldn't mind. So I think they're for Jonathan. That's okay, Chair?
See.
Okay, thank you. So I would just ask that we were talking about facts, and I guess it was the district and CalAm, both sides believe they have their facts, but I'm talking about the facts that LAFCO have. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where the $34 million potential court case fees that the staff is saying in the resolution that the district could not afford. Where did that come from? Where can we find those facts that it's roughly it could be up to $34 million?
Chairman, if I might, I'm not sure if that question was meant to be directed to our senior analyst, Jonathan Brinkman, or to me personally, or to both of us here at staff. But actually, Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of context on how that number was developed and what some of the supporting evidence is, you're probably closest to that information. I'd appreciate it.
Sure, it's included in Richard Bergson's report that he provided October 11th. He was seeking information from the district and from CalAm on what that number was. And in his report, he thought it would could be up to that number of 34 million.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to read it to understand here. I believe was it him or, okay, I believe they got it from this data from Claremont and Apple Valley suggesting that it could be between 25 million and 34 million if the district lost or continued with. And I'm trying to figure out, how do we know the district would go all the way to the end and it could be $34 million? Why do we go to the maximum when we don't know when the district could call it quits they could cut their losses at $6 million. They can cut them at $12 million, cut them at 15. Why would we assume that they would go to the maximum of 34? And then why would we assume that 34 is the highest? I'm just trying to figure out why would you pick the highest number? And then why would we say that's facts?
Well, I think Mr. Berkson was looking at what is a possible worst case scenario. He thought it could be up to 34 million, having considered both. And so that's, I think, why it's in the record.
No, thank you. I just trying to clarify, just one or two more, Chair. Then when we talked about the property tax revenue loss, I think you guys said about 1.7 million. And then we updated the resolution today to include some of that is state taxes. Do we know that because we have seen the books from the district, and I think we understand the books from the other public agencies, but do we know how much revenue or profit Cal-Am has taken out of this district, their Cal-Am district? Do we know that number? I think, I think the district said it's roughly about $19-20 million a year. Does that sound right, Jonathan?
Yeah, I've seen numbers to that extent in the public comment, etc. I haven't verified those numbers.
Okay, but have we verified Cal-Am's numbers?
In terms of how much revenue is leaving the community from their business here?
I'm sorry, but I want to get to the, roughly about $20 million over the next 20 years is about $400 million worth of profit taken out of this community. And so what I really want to establish is that this resolution is supported by the majority. They sent you guys out and you guys did a great job of putting together what you could with a little bit of evidence in the record, in my opinion. The evidence or the comments that you made in this resolution is taken from the same documents that we drew up a positive resolution at our last meeting. So as it goes forward, you can't read one side of the ledger without reading the other side. We just took this side, and I understand the commissioner's stance on that. My last point is, when it talks about the affected agency, I thought it was 40 affected agencies, but when I look at the staff document, it was only 3 agencies that sent letters. Is that correct? One was the fire district, and I think the school districts, I'm not even sure they had concerns other than they didn't know what to expect. And then the other one was the water seaside basin water masters. Am I correct? There's only 3 out of 40 that actually sent letters in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I would just say, Chair, I don't support the resolution. And I think it's evidence in the record that makes this resolution, what I want to say is it's not a lot there. I think if we ran into an independent body, they would use this as an indication that we did not do our due diligence and we did not do a good job. So thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Oglesby. We're going to go to Commissioner Askew next.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you for that. I just want to, first off, just thank everyone from the public who took the time to follow this process, to communicate with LAFCO, to be at our multitude of meetings, to speak, to testify. I hear you loud and clear, and I think that the points that you've raised are accurate. The concerns that you have are clear, and it's clear from where I sit that the original work done by our LAFCO staff to prepare a resolution last December to approve the latent powers for the Water Management District was done with an abundance of due diligence. it was done with the abundance of independent assessments that verified the information. It would have been the right direction for LAFCO to go in. Clearly, I don't support the direction that we're taking today or the resolution that's before us. I think that the concerns that I have are that if we do in fact move forward and adopt the resolution before us today, it is not a document that will be defensible. It does not represent the diligence and the abundance of facts that are going to be needed to defend this action from LAFCO. And we're putting all of our agencies at risk for the costs that it will take LAFCO to defend. What I know was also good work by our staff, but they didn't have a lot to work with. And so I'm disappointed, deeply disappointed that this is where we sit now. And I just want to let the LAFCO staff know that I appreciate the difficult situation that we've put you in, and that you're doing the best that you can under difficult circumstances. And I want to just reassure the community that your voices do matter, and that unfortunately, we're going to be continuing this conversation, and that I do believe our shared commitment is for water solutions. And I hope that we can find the right way to move into a direction where water solutions are what we're talking about, and it's no longer, different approaches to how we can fight each other to achieve those shared goals.
Thank you, Commissioner Askew. I'm going to go to Commissioner Velasquez. I see your hand up, and I do see some folks with their hands up in the public, but I'll just let you know we've already closed public comment, so we won't be returning to that at this point. So Commissioner Velasquez.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I also want to thank the LAFCO staff for doing their job. Despite the overwhelming evidence to approve the Water Management's district request to activate their laying powers, I don't support the resolution, and I don't believe it will be defensible in court either. However, I also hope that we can find a water solution to this issue that benefits the entire district and all of the members of our community.
Okay, seeing no other hands up. I again do see hands up in the public, but we have closed public comment. I'm going to ask Safarina to take us through a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. And we will start with Commissioner Ruth Askew.
No.
Commissioner Craig.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorley.
Aye.
Commissioner Oglesby.
No.
Commissioner Portress. Commissioner Portress.
Sorry, yes, please. Thank you.
Vice Chair Leffel.
Yes.
And Chair Lopez.
Yes, the motion carries. With that, I believe we've come to the conclusion of our business for the day. Let me double check top of my agenda. We have comments from our executive officer. She's not here. Darren, were you prepared with any? Okay.
Sorry about that. No, we have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. Then we are at commissioner comments. Any additional comments from commissioners today? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and roll into adjournment. Our next meeting will be January 24th at 4 p.m. and it will be held virtually only by phone. So thank you all. We'll see you then.